All right, we are back live at Karonda's Sports Bar and Grill, 2036 Rankin Mill Road, and we just had Coach John Kirby on with us from Eastern Alamance. We have been joined tonight with Coach Lippard, Coach Earl Bates, Coach Samick from Parkland High School. We've had Coach Kirby on the phone. We had Coach Rothfuss from Northwest Guilford, and now we are joined right here in person with the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Doug Robertson. Coach Robertson, it's very nice to finally meet you in person.
Thank you very much. I don't know about those other things, but
well, anytime that you can take a program from where you did to 11-0 for the first time in school history, the first time for a conference championship, the accolades aren't big enough to describe the job that you've done.
Well, I think that's definitely more than me for sure. I have a great staff, and they're a big part of that, and I couldn't do it on my own. And certainly we have some very talented players that help me look good.
Certainly.
But we're real proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and certainly still got some strides to make, but we've definitely made some.
Coach, me and Kris were talking earlier today, I believe, on the phone about, what you've done at Eastern Guilford, where you took the program, and really talking about not giving up on or schools or administration, not giving up on coaches. And your case is a prime example of that, of how, they stuck with you and believed in you right at the beginning, and the success that you're reaping now is one of the reasons is because of that the administration stuck with you and gave you the opportunity to win, go through and, get these guys. You started with the freshmen, with them as freshmen, they're seniors now, and that's something that a lot of times you really don't see very much anymore.
Yeah, well, it was a long road. We were able to win some early. We won 7 games the first 2 years, and then 6 games last year, and then went to 11 this year. But it definitely, I think the 4 years has definitely been a culmination of what we're doing now. And I think starting with those kids in the JVs that are seniors now, and I've told this story a lot, but those guys being on a JV team with 19 players and being 0-10, but fighting all the way on all those games, kind of laid the groundwork for what's happening now. And I think we have the same mentality. We're just playing a lot better football than we were then.
Well, and a lot of it has been developing your scheme and how you're going to use those guys. I mean, you've got an incredible talent with Bryant Barr. There's no doubt about it. But it has been watching how you've progressed on how you're going to use him, because he's one of those head scratchers that he's so talented at everything, but you can't put him in. If you had 22 of him, it would be awesome. Right. But you don't. So
yeah, but we're going to start with playing our best 11 on defense, and Brian is one of those guys right now, and that's something we've never got away from. My 4 years, we've always tried to win on defense, and I told the guys going into this year, if you're not on defense, then you're not in the top 11 football players on our team. And Brian took that to heart because he considers himself one of those, and he is. And he starts at corner for us, and the big part of that is Dominique Graves, the other half of the quarterback duo. He's allowed us to rest Brian on offense because he's been so effective at quarterback as well. So a lot of people don't like the 2 quarterback system. Things can't work, but I think we've done a good job of making that work.
Well, that old saying that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. But
right.
You've got 2 real quarterbacks. So
right.
Go ahead, Wyatt. You had something to say?
Yeah, Coach. How have you made that how did you come to the decision to use 2 quarterbacks, and how have you made, revolved your program around that and made your program work with that dual threat quarterback, 2 quarterback system? I
don't know that we ever really talked about it a whole lot other than Bryant plays full-time defense, like I said earlier, and obviously he needs some rest. We rest on offense. We rest all our guys that play defense. If they play offense, they're going to rest on offense, not defense. So it's kind of just Dominique is Bryant's rest. on offense. At the same time, Dominique's also, we consider him a starter. So we don't lose a whole lot when Dominique's in. Dominique can run the football as well as pass the football, and his stats have proved that. And we move the football down the field, and he moves the team really well. So the good thing is we don't feel like we drop off a whole lot. Now, we may lose a little bit of the big play potential in the run game, but we feel like our offense is kind of multiple enough. We can kind of plow down the field also and do it that way. So it's been something that's really evolved. It's not something that we consciously say we're going to play both of these guys this many. We just kind of gauge what Bryant looks like and how Dominique's playing and kind of go from there. And every game is a little bit different.
Because I think the game that I saw, Dominique got hurt a little bit, and Bryant played a little bit more quarterback than Dominique did. One other thing, and then I'll shut up and let Kris talk. But I was completely impressed by your defense as a whole when I saw you guys play Eastern Alamance a couple of weeks ago. But one of the players that stuck out to me was Nafi Tucker and how hard he was hitting people, and not only that, but his the drive that he had to do those things. And Bryant actually told me in his interview that Nafi also takes every snap on offense as well.
Right.
Can you just talk a little bit about Nafi?
Nafi's kind of one of those unsung heroes on the team because he plays our H position, H-back. So I think he has 2 carries on the year, and he has 2 receptions on the year, maybe 3. I'm not sure. It's not he doesn't touch the football a whole lot. But what he does do is block. And so Zion Walker's success at tailback and Bryant Barr's success at running in quarterback and Dominique's success running at quarterback has a lot to do with Nafi Tucker. And anytime you're a lead blocker, you don't get a lot of credit, but the coaches appreciate you. And Nafi's a great kid, real likable. He's always lightens the mood. Just a real likable kid. And real happy for Nafi. He came to us from Florida in the Orlando area as a sophomore, I do believe. And he's been in our program now. This is his 3rd year, and now he's a senior, getting experience, the success he has, and he deserves it. He's a great young man.
Well, and you can go and name quite a few players off of your team that we've talked about it in the coaches shows that we've done, that I think that you have some just some fantastic young men over there, and Kyan Howard and Dominic Graves, and another one, James Artist is another one that you would have to bring up in that conversation as well.
Those guys are all guys that's been in our system. They've been with us. Those guys have not transferred in. They're guys have been with us since they're freshmen. And Kyan, you're not going to find a better kid than Kyan Howard. He's a great football player, but he's that much better of a person. And then James Artist, another good character kid, has been in our program and does a lot of good things. Very unselfish, plays defense, and then we kind of rest him on offense. So very unselfish this year, but every time he comes in, he makes big plays on offense. So real tickled with them guys. And, of course, Dominique's another, I kind of repeat it, but just a great, well-spoken young man. And these are guys you take in your house and keep them.
That's what I said. I said if any of them ever needed any place to stay, me and my wife will make a room for any of them. They're just that kind of kids.
They're that kind of kids. You can put a $100 bill on the table, and it's going to be there when you get back. That's how much trust I have in those guys. And
that says a lot too.
Yep.
It does, and it's probably makes your life as a head coach a lot easier.
It does. We've had very few problems.
Right.
And that's
And do you think that that's something, like they say that you can't coach size and you can't coach heart? Is that something that you believe that you've been able to coach them, or did they come in that way?
Well, I think parents have a lot to do with that. Parents, those guys all have really good parents in the home and do a good job and good support from their family. And then we just reinforce, the kind of things that hopefully they're teaching at home, And while they're with us, we feel like we are the parent, and that's one thing that I've always tried to do is treat my players like my own, and they know from me that's tough. That's tough love, because when they do something wrong, I'm gonna let them know it. But I'm also going, be excited for them in good things that happen to them, but also the adversity hits, and try to be there for them as well, because things go on outside of football that happen that nobody sees, that sometimes their coaches are the first people they come to.
Well, once again, we're being joined here with Coach Doug Robertson from Eastern Guilford High School, the 11-0 three-state mid-A conference champs. I've gotten the feeling when I've talked to you that the 11-0 is awesome, and the first conference championship in Eastern Guilford history is awesome, but your work's not done.
Nope, that's the thing that our community has not dealt with. Is a lot of prosperity, and that's the challenge that we go forward now with. Is the season's not over. Yes, those things are nice, but it's what you do in the playoffs that people around the state will remember. If you want to get statewide recognition and take your program to the next level, then you got to win in the playoffs, and that's something we haven't done yet. So we'll see if this team has the maturity level to do that, and we think we do. But at the same time, we hadn't done it yet, so we got to go do it. And so we've done a lot of firsts at Eastern this year. Hopefully winning our first playoff game, I think, since 81 would be nice, and then hopefully it gets us going for the rest of the playoffs.
Well, and how much does because you've won state championships before at the 2A level,
right?
And how much does that experience prepare you to go on this run? Because for you, I mean, you've dealt with all these same pressures before. How much of an advantage does it give you over some of these young coaches that don't have state title rings like you've got?
Well, I think it's an advantage, because I can share with my team and my coaches what it takes to win. However, every team's different. I think all the teams we had at Reidsville that won it, all of them were a little different. The thing that you really know about the playoffs is, number one, you're going to play a game sometime, if you win it, that you're probably a little fortunate to win, or something happens during the game and you're very fortunate. You have to be very fortunate, and I think that's happened at Reidsville when we won them. And the other thing is you got to get better during the playoffs. And we tried to stress last week about worrying about us, not so much about who we're going to play. Obviously, we didn't know who we were going to play either, but we're going to focus on getting us better. And we're going to focus on the same thing next week, even though we know now our opponent in Corinth holders, yes, we're going to prepare for them, but we're also going to worry a lot about what we're doing. And if we continue to get better, we think the results will be where we want them.
Coach, just one more question, kind of going back just a little bit. Do you feel like you guys being in the eastern side of the county kind of not get as much coverage and, kind of in the shadow of Page and Dudley and those teams? You guys ended up undefeated, and, you really didn't get all the star coverage that Page and Grimsley got.
Well,
so does that help you, or does that hurt you? Does that motivate you? What does that do?
I don't know that it's a big factor. I think you're probably right in some degree, but it goes back to what I just talked about. We haven't done that consistently enough to warrant that kind of coverage, and yes, the kids deserve it. I mean, these kids deserve it every bit, and we have gotten more coverage. I mean, y'all have done a good job.
Yeah, I said about week 7. I think I was like, I got to give Coach a call, and we got to do something. There's something going on over here, and at least me personally, and I know Andy Durham at Greensboro Sports Radio, we want to be part of that. And he came over and called the Northern Guilford game,
right.
And I know did an interview with you in the booth afterwards.
Right. Yep.
And so we've definitely been seeing, when Wyatt does have a really good point. It's very easy to get overshadowed when you're kind of the new kid on the block. When people expect Northern Guilford to be good now, they
right.
expect Page to be good, they expect Dudley to be good, and those teams right. are good.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you snuck up and Page has a loss, Dudley has a loss, and I believe you're the only undefeated team in Guilford County.
I think that's correct. And it's all relative. We keep things in perspective. We respect all those programs that you mentioned, and I think it comes down to, you look at your rankings. A lot of those guys are still ahead of us, even one loss. But those rankings don't win football games. That's the thing, and it's not going to help us.
Did you tell me that the rankings are for the fans?
They're for the fans, and they're not for us. Because the bottom line is we got to get prepared for Corinth holders, and they don't care what we're ranked in the area, and they shouldn't, and we shouldn't either. We have to worry about going back to worry about us. But Page and Dudley and your Reedsvilles and all the guys that's been good for so long in this area, they deserve that kind of credit as well. So we're just trying to earn that type of respect, hopefully by our program being consistently good. And the problem is right now we just hadn't been that program yet. We have to be good year in and year out, and I think that kind of stuff will come along with that.
Well, we had Coach Bates on earlier. We had Coach Kirby on earlier, and we talked a little bit about Reedsville and the Coach Teague coaching tree, basically. So up there when you were up in Reedsville, Coach Teague left Reedsville, you took over, and then you left Reedsville and Coach Teague came back. Is that the way that it worked out?
That's the way it worked out. And, I just wanted to go on to a different challenge, and I was able to be head coach there 3 years and 11 and a half overall as a assistant coach and a head coach, and those were great years, enjoyed them a lot. But I just felt the urge to want to do something different, and want to try to build a program and see if that formula that we had at Reedsville, if that formula would work somewhere else. And so a lot of things I do at Eastern Guilford right now, it's a lot of things that Coach Bates and Coach Teague and a lot of my mentors, that I consider my mentors and my friends, that we're trying to do at Eastern. So, yes, that's a long-lasting impression on our program.
Well, and one of the reasons why we wanted to do this show and do it in the style that we're doing it, that we really wanted to get the fans a chance to kind of look behind the curtain. Because we get those short little interviews with you guys that, and we get the coach speak, we're just trying to go out and take them one at a time, right, and, do the best we can, and they're going to be prepared. And that having a little longer conversation gives you guys the opportunity to not necessarily let your guard down, but to really go into some of the details that the fans don't usually get to see. And, like Wyatt talked about earlier with the administration standing behind you, in the early years when, your JV team went 0-10, and then you battle back, and now they're seeing the fruits of your labor and theirs as well, because right, it's a team effort. I mean, with your admin, with your athletic directors and your whole school, and between the band and the cheerleaders and everybody, and, right, and you guys have really got some good stuff going on over at Eastern Guilford.
Yep. One thing I tried to, one thing I think I have brought is the understanding of what a good football program looks like, and I don't necessarily think that Eastern Guilford knew what that looked like when I got there. So I think the guys I was able to hire and myself, we hired some guys that had won a lot of football games, and including myself, and I think that got the things that we're doing are things that winning football programs do that they weren't necessarily doing at Eastern Guilford before I got there. So we've changed the culture to a winning culture and what a good football program has to look like, and so we've got past the tough part now. And another tough part is maintaining that type program, and that's what our challenge is going forward.
Well, when you look at this, we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the bracket. You're such a great interview. We could talk about everything other than the brackets.
I appreciate it.
You got Corinth holders in the first round, and looking in that downside in your bracket, you've got there's Ashboro down there is the 5 seed. Triton, they get that's the 4-5 matchup, right, and then you got Western Alamance, which know about all you want to know about Western Alamance, right?
Yep, good football teams.
And that there's that, me and Wyatt were talking before you came on about the fact that we sit here and we look at the brackets and start licking our lips over, man, wouldn't you love to see this matchup, and how you guys focus on one at a time.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to say that again. We're worried about Corinth holders, and
right,
that's as honest as I can be,
yeah,
because the thing about it is when you get into a bracket-style format, there's so many options out there that you could play. You're wasting your time.
Right.
You really are.
Yeah.
Because, as well as I do, a lot of things don't go to seeding.
Yeah.
The higher seeds don't always win, and the favorites don't always win. Things happen. Weather happens. Rain happens and changes things. So,
didn't Northern Guilford went in last year in the 3 Big A and played Corinth holders in the first round, and they were the 7 seed, and Corinth holders was the 2. Right. And they beat them at Corinth holders.
There you go. So there's your example.
Yeah, perfect. And that just happened. And we would be We would be remiss if we didn't say Corinth Holders. They are getting in with the benefit. They're a 3-win team, and there was some shuffling around of it was, I believe, the CBA Cock. CBA Cock had to forfeit all their wins, and so they're out. And that actually, I'm sure you were looking, as we all were, where the first bracket came out, and then they took it back and re-scrambled it after CBA Cock out and sent McMichael to the west, to the Midwest, and then Northeast bumped from the 7 to the 8.
Yeah, that was definitely a change, and a lot of changes. I think it bumped Eastern Alamance from our bracket to the 3A instead of 3AA. So a lot of changes. State's got a tough job. I mean, they got 4 classifications, 8 total to get figured out, and I think everybody looks at their own and think they have it figured out, but they got to look at 8. So that's a tough job, so they give us time to call in and make any changes needed. And I guess there were some changes that needed to be made, and I think the difference was Corinth Holders was not in the original one. I think St. Stephen's was, and I think they had to change those 2 around, which made all those changes from there.
If you haven't looked at the ADMs, which is the what's the abbreviation?
Average daily membership.
Yeah, so that's how many students they have at the school. And I looked at that this morning, after Corinth Holders got put in, and Corinth Holders is larger than Dudley. I mean, they got 1,700 students.
They're the largest 3A school in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, that's – I don't know that numbers always are an indicator of how good a football team or how bad a football team you are. I think you got teams with less than 1,000 in the playoffs that are really good football teams.
Certainly. So Reedsville would be one of those.
Right. Yep. And even in 3A, we got teams, I want to say Southern Nash and West Craven, those type guys are around 1,000. So some of the higher seeded guys are in that lower, student-wise. So it still comes down to, the 22 guys on the field, or in some cases 15 to 20 if you're playing both ways.
Right.
So, and if your guys are better than them guys, then it don't.
I think I saw you at one time last year where you were dressing about 27 when you got struck with injuries.
Yeah, I mean we've always felt like if we try to have 16 to 21 good players, if we get 16 really good players, we feel like we can play and get those 5 or 6 guys that have to play both ways at plenty of rest. We think we can make that work. So that's our philosophy. I know other teams play 22 and they don't play either side of the ball. They play offense or defense. But we're just that's not our philosophy.
Coach, one more question for you. Just what's your philosophy or what's your game plan going to be with the 2 quarterback system going into this Corinth Holders game? Is
pretty similar to what we've been doing.
Pretty similar. Yeah, no changes there.
Status quo. You're 11-0. Don't change it.
We're not going to change a whole lot. We're going to keep doing what we do and try to do it better. And kind of see how the game's going, and we'll go from there. I mean, if we're able to run the football, no matter who's the quarterback, if we're able to run the football, we're going to try to run the football.
Right.
And if they take that away, then we're going to try to throw the football. I mean, it's kind of like it's simplistic, but it's not easy as it sounds.
Right.
But, we try to take what the defense gives us, and I think either Dominique Graves or Brian Barr can certainly do that, certainly take advantage of those things.
All right, well, we've been joined here with Coach Doug Robertson. Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and we will I'm going to go ahead and say it right now that a week from this Tuesday I will be calling you, and we'll be doing a coach's show leading into your next playoff game.
Well, that would be nice. If you can make it happen right now, I'd take
done.
it.
Yeah, but, it's done. I've already got it in my schedule book, so we can't change it now. Awesome season you've had. Congratulations. It's been very nice to finally meet you in person after the long conversations that we've had, and it has been a pleasure having you on.
Well, same here, and we appreciate you guys and the coverage that you give us, and also just want to wish everybody in the area good luck in the playoffs, and as long as you're not playing the Wildcats.
All right. Coach Doug Robertson, Eastern Guilford Wildcats, joining us tonight after his 11-0 conference championship. And we're going to pause a brief moment, and we're going to have I keep throwing this word around a lot tonight, the legendary coach Tommy Persley on the phone talking about Tuscola and things that he's got to do in the Mid-State 3A or in the 3A conference. So We'll be right back.